As Joe Flies.
And I'm Leslie from Trips with Tykes.
And welcome back to Disney Deciphered. So, Leslie and I have completed our spring break trips, myself to Walt Disney World, Leslie a bit further to Tokyo Disneyland and Sea. And folks, we have like 5, maybe 6 episodes of content about that. We're not going to do standard trip reports. If you're interested in live trip reports, off the top of our head, you can check us out on patreon.com/Disney Deciphered, where you can subscribe even at the lowest level to receive that bonus content. We really appreciate our Patreon subscribers. Leslie, we have a new Patreon subscriber to thank. Who do we got today?
Yes, today we are thanking Deborah B. Thanks so much for supporting the podcast. Really, honestly, one of my favorite things now over the years, Joe, has been recording these live trip reports that we've been doing. It was fun. You can hear me recording in the bathroom of the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel because we often do them late at night while our kids are in bed.
Yes, it's always great to record these bathroom recordings. But yeah, we will sprinkle in our thoughts on our trips as we go through these episodes. But it's just so many episodes. You're going to be sick of hearing about our trips by the time we're done. So we're going to spread it out. Now, Leslie is like fresh off the plane, less than 24 hours. So she's thankfully, we had some scheduling conflicts with potential guests. So thank you, Leslie, for recording with me. It is 3 a.m. in your brain right now as we're recording. So we're going to, 1 a.m.?
Don't do the math. That makes it worse.
Okay, I'm sorry. So we're going to start with an easy one, maybe not the most exciting one, but I stayed at a new resort when I was at Walt Disney World, Saratoga Springs Resort and Spa, which I didn't even know about. One of the DVC resorts. It's like all DVC. Of course, you can pay for it as a cash hotel, and it is probably the DVC resort that I hear most from DVC resort owners that say we own in Saratoga Springs, but rarely stay there, except for one who I will shout out later, and we will talk about some of the things that I've learned about staying at Saratoga Springs. Leslie, what has your overall impression been of it? I mean, I think I speak for both of us that we have been actively avoiding this resort because it's so far away from the parks.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, it's the resort I know the least about. I have set foot on the property in the last, 5, 6 years, because I think that's where like the main DVC buy-in location is located. I think they have some like rooms that you can tour there. And I think I was there for some media thing at some point and toured some villas. But fun fact, Joe, I am fairly positive, and our listeners can chime in on this if I am wrong, that this was the location of the former Disney villas, like way, 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 way back in the 80s. And I believe that is where my family stayed on our very first Walt Disney World trip when I was like maybe 7. My dad has these vague recollections, and I keep like trying to hammer him for more details because it's like, Dad, I need to know this Disney history. Why can't you remember it? But he said we stayed at a place called the Disney Villas, which then became the Disney Institute and now is the location of Saratoga Springs.
Wow, so you have stayed there, Leslie. Spoiler alert. I did not know that.
Different buildings,
now,
different buildings.
Same area, same geographical footprint. So let's start by talking. If you haven't heard one of our hotel episodes before, we kind of run through the hotel, and then we'll talk to you about why you should or should not consider staying there. So let's get straight to the theming of this resort, Leslie. I confess I did not know a lot about it, but tell us what Disney has to say about Saratoga Springs.
All right, Disney's words. Inspired by historic Saratoga Springs, a late 1800 New York retreat famous for its spas and horse racing. This charming Victorian-style resort hotel is nestled between rolling golf course greens and the shimmering Lake Buena Vista. Delight in stately studios and multi-bedroom villas, dazzling pools, and a spa. I'm sold, Joe. What about you?
Well done. Well done. Well, first of all, I knew nothing about Saratoga Springs, the resort. I knew nothing about Saratoga Springs, the actual place. I think there's a Saratoga Springs in Florida as well. Like I didn't know what's what. I think the funny thing to me was when I got there, I was like, what's all this horse racing stuff? There was like a jockey, like a brass statue of a jockey or bronze statue of a jockey on a horse. In the room, there was cute jockey and horse racing theming and stuff like that. I had no idea. But I know that horse racing is big in New York State, but I just did not know that this was a thing. One funny thing, Leslie, I don't know where else to fit it in to the trip report, and I tried to get audio of it, but I never timed it correctly. They play like the charge music, on the horns, like before you start the horse race,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah,
I'm
it
not gonna do
starts.
it. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, yes, we refuse to ever sing on this podcast. My number one pet peeve, all you other podcasters out there singing on your podcast, but they just play it like randomly, like you're just walking around, and then all of a sudden you hear the bugle playing out. So they really have kind of bought into or sold out on this horse racing theming. But actually, it's pretty nice. It's cool. The artwork has Mickey horse racing themed, so it's pretty cool. I like the theming more than I thought I would, even though I had no idea like anything about Saratoga Springs before.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised both of us don't know anything about this. I mean, I know the name, but you being there in the Northeast and my having gone to college not far away, like, why is this off our radar screen? Maybe we're just the wrong era. Maybe it was, I mean, this was built in like what, about 2004. So clearly it was meant to appeal to somebody alive today, like meant to have some resonance, but maybe we need to check with our parents. I don't know.
We need to bet on horses more, Leslie. That's what I
guess
found
so.
out. Yeah.
Okay,
so.
I'll ask my dad. He did go to the University of Kentucky, so he might know about some horse racing stuff. All right, Joe, well, let's dive into your stay. I know that Saratoga Springs is very close to the Disney Springs area, but just how close are we talking once you actually got to see it?
Yeah, so it really depends on where you stay. I should also add another blind spot for Leslie and myself is we do not golf, but the golf course kind of runs through the resort in places, and it's very connected to it. So if you are a golfer and you're going to spend time golfing when you're at Walt Disney World, I think this is a great place to stay because you can just walk to the links. You'll even see golf carts driving around and stuff like that. Now, Disney Springs, I knew it was close, but I wasn't sure how close. One thing I found out about Saratoga Springs is it's a very expansive property. We're talking like bigger than Caribbean Beach. It felt like bigger than Coronado Springs, 5 bus stops type situation. So it really depends where in Saratoga Springs you are in terms of how close you are to Disney Springs. So if you stay in the Congress Park area, that is like you are less than a 5-minute walk to the entrance to Disney Springs, and you come in kind of right on that far side of Disney Springs, pretty close to the World of Disney store. And so you're right in there on that side, kind of opposite from the parking lots. Whereas if you're staying in the carousel area, you are like you have to walk all the way across Saratoga Springs to do that. We stayed in the Springs, which is the central area near the lobby. And we did that because my mom was having mobility issues. So we wanted to keep her kind of close to a more central area. What I did, Leslie, because we were at Saratoga Springs and it was recommended to me to rent a car just because of how far away it is, I actually drove my car from the Springs to Congress Park, parked by those villas, and then walked to Disney Springs. And that was totally great because we were getting takeout from Disney Springs one day. And I will say that it is really convenient to be that close to Disney Springs for food options. But like, we didn't want to walk for half an hour. It wouldn't have been that long, but like 20, 25 minutes, wait for our food, come all the way back. So it's pretty close to Disney Springs. If you have a car, quick Disney do, drive over to Congress Park and then park there and then walk over from there.
Got it. Well, let's talk about transportation more generally. So I assume it's all buses because I know there's no monorails, no Skyliners, anything like that. And I guess no boats either. Is that right? Or are there boats to Disney Springs?
There's one boat to Disney Springs from the Springs area, so like the central area, but like it literally just takes you from the center of Saratoga Springs to the end of Congress Park. So it basically takes you to where I drove my car to, which is why, like, if you want a nice boat ride, it's a nice boat ride. But in terms of like actual convenience, if you have a car, you're going to go ahead and want to take that. Now that you don't have to pay for parking, I would say that if you are renting a car, this is a resort to consider, or if you're driving in, because we found, yes, it's all buses to the parks, all 4 parks, water parks, everything is buses. They even have a bus to Disney Springs. They have an internal bus to the Treehouse Villas, which we're not going to talk about in this episode, but it's like kind of a subsection of Saratoga Springs. So it's bus, 5 bus stops. Like I said, so when the bus gets into the resort, it doesn't leave for like 15, 20 minutes. And so it is quite a haul. So we found that about half the time we drove to the parks, now that all the trams are back, it made it much easier to drive. Again, I guess my dad had his own car, and so my mom had a handicap sticker, so she got to park in accessible parking. For the rest of us, the trams being back made it easy to drive. The buses were not as bad as I thought it would be, except for the fact that like 3 times we missed the bus by 2 to 3 minutes. It was brutal. And then like the next one was coming in 25 minutes. So like one time I just ended up driving. A second time I ended up Ubering. I guess what can you do? Disney do or don't for the buses at the end. So a little bit of a tease there. But you definitely should understand that transportation is going to take longer from Saratoga Springs. Even though when you're driving, it turns out none of the parks are super far away, but just because of the whole situation, it's like you're like middle distance away from everything, which just kind of got to work around.
All right, well, let's talk about the rooms. I know it's an all villas hotel. So, what are the options and then what did you stay in?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. Again, we'll ignore the Treehouse Villas. They are their own thing. Just real quick on that, I think if you're going to stay in the Treehouse Villas, you're staying there to stay there and just to enjoy that. Really, like much less of a park focused trip, even with Saratoga Springs being a little bit less park focused because of how far it is in the first place. And I'll talk about that a little more when we get to why you should or should not. Pretty simple. 3 options: studio, 1 bedroom villa, 2 bedroom villa. The 1 and 2 bedroom villas both have full kitchens and laundry, which I found out is runs in the family. Myself, my father, and my sister were very excited about the whole laundry situation. Everybody did laundry the first night, even though I had just flown in from. Anyway, let's not talk about it. The less we talk about that, the better. But we enjoy doing our laundry. So 1 or 2 bedrooms, you get laundry. Studio, you don't get the laundry. And then there's only 2 types. There's a standard and a preferred, and it's all about location. So the standard rooms are spread out in areas called the Carousel, the Paddock, and I'm blanking on the last one. And meanwhile, the preferred is Springs, which is by the lobby, like I said, or Congress Park, which is the one that's close to Disney Springs. Grandstand is the other standard one. So really not a lot of decision making to be made, which is good for analysis paralysis type people.
For sure. And how did you guys get rooms in the Springs? I mean, you obviously booked a preferred room, but then did you do a special request to make sure that you got that building versus Congress Park?
Yes. So I use touring plans still for myself and also for my clients. Like if they have a room request or if I have a room request, I do it through touring plans. And there was two-bedroom villas on the floor in the building that we requested, and I got the one that I didn't request, which was fine. I kind of meant to try to angle towards facing Epcot to see if we could maybe see fireworks, but I got my windows backwards. So we were facing the other way, which was fine. And then for my sister, and here's where my shout out goes to Adam M. He's a Patreon supporter, longtime listener. We chat offline a lot. He is an owner at Saratoga Springs, and he gave me a tip. He's like, if you're staying preferred, stay Congress Park to be close to Disney Springs, which I would have done if my mom hadn't been part of the picture. Oh, I should have said my parents and I stayed in a 2 bedroom. So that was 7 of us. And then my sister stayed in a 1 bedroom standard. And so for my sister, the 1 bedroom standard, Adam's recommendation was to stay at the Paddock to be near that pool. And I requested her a building there. And yeah, since Saratoga Springs is not as crowded as the other resorts, like we both got exactly the building that we requested. So that worked out very well.
All right, that's good to hear. So, what did you think of the 2 bedroom villa? I know there's been a recent renovation there. And did it look good, fresh, all that good stuff?
Yeah, it looked great. I looked at some pictures of the old rooms and they were definitely like really tired. I feel like the theming is really nice. It's very clean. I wouldn't say elegant, but like approaching Grand Floridian levels of elegance. Maybe, okay, that's probably overselling a bit, but it's like, it's nice. You know, it was a really nice resort. The space was nice, very cool. Like in our 2 bedroom villa, we had 2 pull down beds. We had a queen pull down bed and a single Murphy pull down bed. So we could have slept 9 in there. I've read that you can sleep 9 in there and they will let you book for 9, but they'll only give you towels for 8. I don't think that's true. They kept giving us towels. Like we weren't asking for towels. Like we try to hang our towels up and not, we would show up after a day in the parks and there would be towels on like our counter in the foyer where you walk in. So they kept giving us towels. So I think if you had 9, you probably would get enough towels. So the internet, you can't believe everything that you read on the internet. But yeah, it was really nice. I slept on both like as it is in our family, like it's musical beds like every single night. And so I ended up sleeping on both of the queen pull down and the single pull down, and they were definitely pretty comfortable, 100% more comfortable than like the Pop Century pull downs, the ones at Art of Animation family suites. So nice new beds. And so really enjoyed that. Housekeeping, because we were on a cash stay, housekeeping would put the beds up for us every night. And so that was really cool. Really enjoyed that. The only kind of minor complaints about the room, there are two full bathrooms. One of them, the setup is like a little weird. Like you can access it from the living room. So that was a little odd, but we got used to it. And the actual toilet is in a separate room. So I guess that works. So that was like a little bit of a weird, quirky thing. And then the other thing was there were not enough chairs. So there was like two chairs at the dining room table, and then that's it. So my mom actually, well, not my mom, but we pulled in a chair from the balcony for my mom to have an extra place to sit. And then we ended up taking one of the chairs from the table into our room because our youngest daughter, still kind of, it's easier for her to have a chair by the sink to like get ready and like brush her teeth and stuff like that, so she's not climbing up on the sink. But besides those two small things, it was really nice. Like I said, I really liked the horse racing theming and the artwork. There were some cool statues in there. So overall, really enjoyed the rooms. It was really comfortable, and again, cannot overemphasize this enough, laundry. We also used the full kitchen too. We had some breakfasts on our own, made some eggs, that kind of stuff.
Got it. Did you grocery delivery there, or did you make a run with the car?
So yeah, so my sister's family actually stayed in Orlando for like a longer time. They were actually at Sheraton Vistana doing like timeshare presentation type stuff there and just hanging out at the pool. And my parents came in from Fort Myers, I think, so they were in Fort Myers for a couple days doing their age bracket tour of Florida. So I think visiting some friends too. So everyone except for myself hit the grocery store along the way to getting to Saratoga Springs. And I think my dad made another run on another day, but it wasn't a problem. And if it was me, I could have run out while my family was like resting or at the pool or something. And so easy enough and good to have a car. This is another good reason to have a car when you're staying in one of these villas.
Speaking of food, let's talk about the restaurants that are offered at the resort. Did you eat at any of them? And then what are all the options?
So there's only one table service restaurant. That's the Turf Club. I did not go there. It is well reviewed, but we just didn't have time. And we only did 2 table service meals the entire trip as a full family of 12. And so we did not get a chance to try that, but that's the one main restaurant. And then Artist's Palette is the quick service restaurant that's in the Springs, which again, we wanted to be close to. It's right by the pool. There are a couple pool bars and like food options. Notable is the Paddock Grill. My sister ate there a lot. Spent, spoiler alert for the dining plan episode, but spent $30 per quick service credit. It was free, quote unquote, because she used her quick service credit. Got some really expensive jinks with her fish tacos or whatever that she got at the Paddock Grill. So there was some value to be had there on the dining plan. All the quick service food was really good. We really liked Artist's Palette. We got the rotisserie chicken there multiple times. The beef was good. They had some specials as well. We got a lot of chicken Caesar salads. I will say one thing I realized, and I think it should be emphasized for like every resort you stay at, you really need that quick service restaurant to be something that you're going to enjoy, because you're going to end up spending more time there than you expect, right? It's like we would be in the parks and we'd be like, should we go to Casey's? Should we go to Columbia Harbor House? And then it would be like, no, the kids are too tired. We'll just go back to the pool. And then all of a sudden you're eating at Artist's Palette for the 4th night in a row type situation. Slight exaggeration, but not too much. I will say, if my parents hadn't been there, if it had just been our family, we probably would have ventured into Disney Springs to have a table service meal there. We did go to Disney Springs that one night for the takeout, so we went to Morimoto and got some takeout there, and went to Deluxe Burger as well and tried that out and got some takeout. My one like real disappointment was I really wanted to go to Chicken Guy. That's Guy Fieri's chicken tender restaurant. But unfortunately, the line was like too long. And like I said, we were rushing back to bring the food back to the kids. The nice thing about having 2-bedroom villa is like we could bring the food back. We could all sit at the table or sit at the table in waves, but still have a table to sit at. And that worked. But Chicken Guy, the line was too long. I got to go there for lunch or something.
All right, next trip, Joe. Let's also talk about I guess there's a spa, but I presume there was no spa visitation happening in this trip, but there is a spa and the pools as well. I know you spent time there.
Yes, we spent a lot of time at the pools. My wife ended up having to take a day off and she did not go to the parks on the day that she was planning to go to the parks. I was like, hey, I'll book you a spa appointment. I need some info, please. But she decided to decline. But from what I understand, it's the same Census Spa branding as they have on Disney Cruise Line, Grand Floridian. So I think if you've been on to the spas in any of those, it'll be very similar. Pools are excellent. This is one of the few, if not the only hotels that I know of that has two pools that have slides. So the main pool has a slide, and that's a great pool. That's a bigger pool. That's really nice. But the reason why Adam told me to put my sister by the paddock is because the paddock pool has a second slide. I would say that slide is better. It's longer than the main pool slide. It's a smaller pool overall, but having two pools with slides in them, that's pretty awesome. And so that gave, so sometimes we'd go over to my sister's pool and we'd swim there. Sometimes they'd come over to us. It was great for the kids to be bouncing back and forth between the pools. So really happy with the pool situation at Saratoga Springs, which I think is important because when you are further away, you're going to be spending more time at the resort. So that covers like most of Saratoga Springs. And then of course we need to get to what the pricing looks like. Now, like we said, this is a DVC resort, deluxe resort. I didn't mention that, but it's a deluxe resort. So you get the main perk at Saratoga Springs is having those extended evening hours. I did miss a bus on the way to extended evening hours one night. So that's one of the times that I Ubered, but that is kind of what you get at Saratoga Springs and the nicer rooms and amenities and stuff like that. So deluxe villas wise, what prices are we looking at, Leslie?
All right, so looking at July of this summer 2024, a studio villa is $479 a night pre-tax. This is standard pricing. A one-bedroom villa is $625 a night pre-tax, and then a two-bedroom villa is $931 a night pre-tax. And looking ahead to October, prices are a little bit higher. $545 studio villa, $719 one bedroom, and $1126 for a two bedroom. What did you pay, Joe?
I paid around that. I can't really remember. I'm not done. I've been strategically putting off accounting after this trip. But yeah, it was around that. And so we did, like I said, the one bedroom for my sister and then the two bedroom for us. It did, the two bedroom, we're splitting it between two families. It did not feel as bad. $500 per family is not the worst thing that you can do. I also, actually, my sister for sure, well, actually, both of us, we booked under sale rates and there was the stay longer sale. When I checked for July, they didn't have it right now, and so that's the rack rate. But if you get in early, like when the Disney releases sales and stuff like that, I'm sure you can get it to be even more palatable. Like I think my sister ended up being like $500 a night ish, so that was pretty good. I think the thing to know is for similar rooms, if you take Saratoga Springs and compare it to something like the Beach Club Villas, looking at that October pricing, it's about like $150 more per night. So Beach Club Villas in October is $711 for a studio versus $545 at Saratoga Springs, and basically $1,000 for a one bedroom instead of $719 for a one bedroom at Saratoga Springs. So that's way more than 150. So it's 150 just for the studio. So you're getting the same amount of space. Yes, you're not at the Beach Club, but Beach Club's pool is being refurbished like all the first half of 2025. You're getting the same amount of space. You're still getting the extended evening hours. So that's something to think about when you're comparing resorts.
Yeah, totally right. So same perks, whole lot less money. So let's talk about why you should or should not stay at Saratoga Springs. I'm sure this stay has made you reassess some things a little bit in your in your calculus. So what are the reasons to stay there, Joe?
Yeah, it really has made me I was surprised at just how much it made me reassess. I would say like the caveat that there are two things in play here that may not be in play for your family if you're not going to Disney World in this situation. Number one was my parents. And because of that, our goal was to spend time with them. And so just by nature, we're like, we're not going to, this is not going to be a forced march of happiness type trip, right? We want to spend time with all three of our families together. And so because of that, we knew that we were going to stay at the resort more. And the second mitigating factor that may not be applicable to everyone is now that my kids, my kids are going like twice a year, right? We, again, do not need to do forced march of happiness with them as much. We can enjoy the pools more. And they wanted to swim with their cousins, right? And so that was something that was on the docket for the trip. Because of all that, I feel like a family that is looking to spend a good amount of time at the resort wants the space, but wants a cheaper price. Like Saratoga Springs really fits the bill. Like we could have done, we were trying to cram everything into a 4-night stay, but if we were there for like a week, we could have done a day at Disney Springs. We could have explored more. We could have spent even more time at the pool, so I think families that are not going to be in the parks from sunup to sundown do not need that super convenient access to the parks. Those are the kinds of families that you're going to think about, or people who you want to think about staying there. It's a cheaper deluxe. It's more relaxed. You're going to get more space for your money than at other deluxes. Who should not stay there? If you are on a forced march of happiness trip, if you're at Disney World for like 3 nights and you're just trying to do as much of the parks as you can on those 3 nights, you're not taking long breaks, then, Saratoga Springs probably is not for you, because that time does add up, like waiting for the bus, missing the bus, waiting for another bus, driving your car, going to get gas, all that kind of stuff. That does add up. And it feels a little bit more removed. I would put that that's like a pro and a con. Like if you don't want to be in the bustle of, you want to still be in the Disney bubble, but don't want to be like in the thick of things and want things to be like crazy with like kids everywhere all the time. We were there heart of spring break, 8s and 9s every single day that we were in the parks. But Saratoga Springs still felt relatively quiet. I would say there was one day at the pool, it was a really warm day, that the pool felt pretty crowded. But like besides that, didn't feel the crowds the same way that I felt at the rest of the resort. So pro and a con depending on how much of, how much intensity you want from the Disney bubble.
I mean, after hearing this, Joe, like I'm reconsidering. Like I could see a use case for this for my family. Like I could see if we went for a full week, potentially staying there and then getting all the perks and doing it at a slower pace. I could also see doing a split stay here. So maybe doing this as like a cheaper deluxe resort on a night that we're going to be, able to take advantage of the evening hours, staying maybe like 3 nights here and 4 nights somewhere else. So perhaps I will return to the property of my mid 1980s childhood. We shall see.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I had very low expectations going in because, I'm all about being at the parks, right? And I'm just like, but I think for what our family was looking for this trip, it perfectly fit the bill. And because it exceeded my expectations, everyone was really happy with it. My parents really enjoyed being there. My dad got to walk to Disney Springs. My sister's family didn't know any better. And, the kids, it's funny because like we joke about it all the time, but the kids, they care so much about the pools, right? Like so much. And just having a good pool, and in this case, having 2 good pools, they really love the resort just because of that.
All right, Joe. Well, let's close this out with our traditional Disney do or don't. What do you have for us?
All right. Well, I teased it before. We did miss quite a few buses. One weird thing about the app, there are 5 bus stops, but the app only shows the times for 4 bus stops. And the one that it didn't show was ours. Burned us multiple times. And so my Disney don't at Saratoga Springs is normally at every other resort, I have showed up like 3 or 4 minutes before the bus said it was going to show up, and it's been totally fine. Do not show up at the last minute for buses at Saratoga Springs. Give yourself like 10 minutes just to be safe. The loop is so long that it's just, I feel like the bus times in the app just are not as accurate. And so don't be frustrated like me. Like one of my kids was like, we missed the bus again. Like that kind of situation. So, that was not good planning on my part. So don't leave it late for the buses. Give yourself a little bit of extra time. Enjoy the sounds of the bugle playing while you're waiting for the bus.
All right, fair enough, Joe. Sounds like a really good stay. Thanks for experimenting with something new for us here.
Yes, Old Key West, you're next.
Oh gosh. I've stayed there
All
too.
right. Nice, nice, very nice. Now, I'll let you do that trip report. All right. So, Leslie, you are fresh back from Tokyo. I know you're going to have a lot of content. You had a lot of content on your socials. So, where can people find you if they're looking for that Tokyo content? I don't know. Did you make a highlight out of all your
Yes.
stories? Or are you deciding to?
Yes, there's a highlight already there, and I'm not even done yet. Like, I've been back for less than 24 hours, and I'm still in the middle of sharing Tokyo Disney Sea, and then the next day, Tokyo Disneyland. Haven't even started that yet. So, hopefully, by the time this episode is released, I will have everything up, and you can go view that. It's at Trips with Tykes on Instagram, everywhere else on social media, and then coming to the blog eventually will be lots more in depth. Tripswithtykes.com. Where can folks find you, Joe?
You can find me at As the Joe Flies. I strategically did not post a single thing about, like, if you don't listen to this podcast or my other podcast, you would have had no idea that I was at Disney World for spring break. Just wanted to keep it between myself and the family. I might post like a later Graham situation, but if you're looking for non-posts from me at As the Joe Flies all over social media, and if you're looking to book a trip for the summer or spring break next year, Joseph Chung at travelmation.net. I'd love to help you out as your travel advisor. All right. Well, that does it. If you have any questions for this podcast, any thoughts on Saratoga Springs, it's a huge resort. So if there's anything I missed, Adam, hit me up, Disney Deciphered at gmail.com, at www.deciphered on Twitter, or on Instagram, Disney Deciphered. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. And other than that, Leslie, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. And I will see you taking a nap. Beat that jet lag.
Thanks, Joe.